The 2003 invasion of Iraq, a high-impact narrative. In the aftermath of the devastating 9/11 terrorist attacks, the United States embarked on a mission that would redefine global geopolitics and forever alter the landscape of the Middle East. The 2003 invasion of Iraq, spearheaded by the Bush administration, was justified by the claim that Iraq harbored weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, and had links to terrorist organizations. However, as history unfolded, it became clear that the true objective extended far beyond WMDs. The road to war. Following 9/11, the U.S. government turned its attention to Iraq, accusing Saddam Hussein's regime of possessing WMDs and supporting terrorist networks. The Bush administration, backed by the United Kingdom, sought international support through the United Nations. Despite opposition from key nations like France and Germany, the U.S. pressed forward, citing the need for global security and the liberation of the Iraqi people from a brutal dictatorship. In a speech before the United Nations in February 2003, Secretary of State Colin Powell presented evidence purportedly proving Iraq's possession of WMDs. However, much of this intelligence was later discredited, with sources including the controversial curveball defector providing misleading information. Nonetheless, the momentum toward war was unstoppable, and the invasion was set in motion. The invasion begins. Operation Iraqi Freedom. On March 20th, 2003, Operation Iraqi Freedom commenced with a massive air and ground assault. The U.S.-led coalition employed a shock and awe strategy, aiming to overwhelm Iraqi forces and swiftly dismantle Saddam's regime. Precision airstrikes targeted key military installations and infrastructure, while ground forces advanced rapidly toward Baghdad. Within weeks, coalition forces captured the capital, and Saddam Hussein's regime crumbled. The fall of Baghdad in April 2003 marked a symbolic victory, highlighted by the toppling of Saddam Hussein's statue in Firdo Square. However, as the search for WMDs yielded nothing, speculation grew that the invasion's true purpose was geopolitical control and securing Iraq's vast oil reserves. The rapid military success contrasted with the emerging difficulties of occupation, governance, and rebuilding a fractured nation. The aftermath: unraveling stability. With Saddam Hussein removed from power, the coalition faced the daunting task of rebuilding Iraq. The policy of de-Baathification, which purged former Ba'ath party members from government and military positions, created a power vacuum and alienated a significant portion of the Iraqi population. The disbanding of the Iraqi military further exacerbated instability, leading to widespread unemployment and resentment. As law and order collapsed, looting and lawlessness spread across Iraq. Government buildings, museums, and infrastructure were ransacked, including the infamous looting of the National Museum of Iraq, which resulted in the loss of invaluable historical artifacts. The coalition struggled to establish control, and a poorly executed transition to Iraqi self-governance led to increased hostility toward the occupation forces. Rise of insurgency and sectarian conflict. Amidst the chaos, insurgent groups and sectarian militias emerged, plunging Iraq into violent conflict. Al-Qaeda in Iraq, led by Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, capitalized on the turmoil to launch brutal attacks and incite sectarian violence. Sunni and Shia militias clashed, further destabilizing the region and leading to widespread atrocities. This period of instability laid the groundwork for the rise of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, in the years to come. The insurgency was fueled by resentment toward U.S. forces and the lack of stable government. Roadside bombings, suicide attacks, and ambushes became daily occurrences. The infamous Battle of Fallujah in 2004 saw some of the most intense urban combat U.S. forces had faced since Vietnam, showcasing the ferocity of the resistance. International and domestic repercussions. The invasion of Iraq drew widespread criticism from the international community. Protests erupted globally, condemning the war as an unjustified act of aggression. The failure to find WMDs and the revelation that intelligence reports have been flawed or manipulated severely damaged the credibility of U.S. intelligence agencies. The war also strained relations between the U.S. and its European allies, many of whom had opposed the intervention from the beginning. Domestically, the war's financial and human toll weighed heavily on American society. Thousands of U.S. soldiers lost their lives, and countless others suffered from physical and psychological trauma. The financial cost of the war, estimated in the trillions, strained the U.S. economy and diverted resources from domestic priorities. Veterans returned home with severe injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, leading to long-term social and healthcare challenges. Humanitarian crisis and civilian impact. For the Iraqi people, the invasion and its aftermath brought immense suffering. Civilian casualties mounted as sectarian violence and insurgent attacks escalated. Basic infrastructure, such as electricity and clean water, became scarce, and millions of Iraqis were displaced from their homes. Families were torn apart, and many sought refuge in neighboring countries or beyond. Human rights organizations documented widespread abuses, including torture and mistreatment of detainees in facilities like Abu Ghraib prison. The images of prisoner abuse further tarnished the reputation of the U.S.-led coalition and fueled anti-American sentiment across the region. Reports of private military contractors, such as Blackwater, engaging in human rights violations further deepened resentment and distrust. Legacy and long-term consequences. The 2003 invasion of Iraq left an indelible mark on global politics and the Middle East. The power vacuum created by Saddam Hussein's removal allowed extremist groups to flourish and contributed to the destabilization of neighboring countries. The rise of ISIS and the subsequent international campaign to defeat the group can be directly traced to the chaos that followed the invasion. In the U.S., the war's impact on political discourse and public opinion was profound. The American public became increasingly skeptical of military interventions and wary of government intelligence. The controversy surrounding the invasion played a significant role in shaping subsequent foreign policy decisions and influenced the political landscape for years to come. The Obama administration's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from Iraq in 2011 was partly a response to growing public opposition to prolonged military engagements. Conclusion. The 2003 invasion of Iraq serves as a cautionary tale of unintended consequences and the perils of interventionist policies. While the removal of a tyrannical leader may have been a victory in the short term, the long-term costs in human lives, regional stability, and global credibility were profound. The true motivations behind the war, shrouded in geopolitical ambitions and resource control, continue to spark debate and reflection today. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2003 invasion of Iraq, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more compelling historical narratives. Shukran.